All right, so good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today to discuss Briar Creek, Little Hope Creek Greenway connector. This project will construct a new section of Greenway Trail along Briar and Little Hope Creeks, improving access across Park Road to Little Sugar Creek Greenway, which is part of the Cross Charlotte Trail. My name is Bert Lynn. I'm the Capital Planning Division Director for Mecklenburg County Park and Recreation. Tonight, you'll hear from some other Mecklenburg County Park and Recreation staff on some information about our Greenway trails and some of our other current projects. We'll also hear from our design consultant who will walk through the specifics of the project. And we'll end our time together tonight with some time for questions and comments at the end. Next slide, please. Before we get started, I wanted to walk through some of the features of our virtual meeting platform. It's important that everyone stays muted throughout the presentation. You'll notice a button on the bottom left of your screen. Make sure you see the red slash through the microphone and you'll be muted at that point. We will have an opportunity toward the end of the meeting tonight to ask questions, either by unmuting or using the chat feature. If you have questions or comments during the presentation, please use the chat function. You should see the button on the bottom of your screen, and that'll activate the chat box. So let's give that feature a try. If you would, please type in your first name, your zip code, and your favorite place to walk or bike. It could be a park, it could be a Greenway trail, it could be somewhere that you visited even outside of Charlotte or Mecklenburg County. All right, let's see, we've got a few folks. Hello, Andy, hope you're doing well. Andy likes Little Sugar Creek Greenway, Harris Mountain State Park. Ooh, that's a good one. DuPont Forest, off-roading, I assume. Cross Charlotte Trail, the rail trail, a couple of McAlpines, some more Little Sugars. All right, well, I'll let you guys keep that going and we'll move on to the next slide. So joining me tonight are a couple of folks on my team within capital planning at Mecklenburg County Park and Recreation. Senior planner Katie Lloyd is kind of running things behind the scenes tonight. Planner Katie Daughtry, you'll hear from in just a few minutes. And Robert Billings, who is the project manager with Mecklenburg County Asset and Facility Management. Toward the end of the presentation, we'll have contact information for key staff in case you have any additional questions that you didn't think of during the meeting tonight. We are also joined by Alex McIntyre, who's with Kimley Horn. They are our lead design consultant for this project. Next slide. So I'll turn things over to Katie Daughtry to get us started.
Thank you, Bert. As Bert said, I'm Katie Daughtry, the planner for this project. Let's begin with an overview of greenways and greenway trails. So as many of you are familiar, I'm sure, our greenways are strips of undeveloped land near urban areas set aside for recreational use and environmental protection. We build greenway trails to activate these areas and connect people and places by linking neighborhoods, offices, parks, schools, and shopping areas. These trails provide alternative ways to move through our city, suburbs, and small towns for both transportation and recreation. So in both of our community surveys that were done with our master planning efforts back in 2015 and then the current one in 2020, greenways have been the #1 amenity requested by residents. Our current master plan calls for over 300 miles of greenway trails along creeks and streams and 200 miles of urban trails that would run along roadways and through urban areas. Currently, more than 55 miles of Greenway trails are complete, with a goal to add 30 miles of new trail between 2019 and 2023. To accomplish that goal and meet the community demand, we and our partners are working on an accelerated Greenway plan that includes over 40 miles of trail currently in design or construction. So this is a map of kind of those two programs, both our capital improvement funded projects, which is runs from 2019 to 2023, and our accelerated Greenway projects. So Briar Little Hope Creek was a capital improvement plan funded project. So that just means that it was funded through that 5-year cycle by the Board of County Commissioners. And this is kind of a close-up of our Greenway master plan map. On here, this will help you kind of understand the connections that this project is making to our larger Greenway system. Constructed Greenway trails on this map are shown in green. Green and yellow dash lines are Greenway trail projects that are in various stages of design or construction. Purple lines are constructed urban trails. Purple and yellow dash lines are urban trails that are in design or construction. And then green or purple dash lines are kind of out into the future and don't have any funding associated with them yet. At the center of the map, you see 3 segments of trail shown in green and yellow dash lines. The first segment on the left is the Little Hope Greenway project through Marion Park that connects to Cross Charlotte Trail, or Little Sugar Creek Greenway, as some of you might know it as. And then the section in the middle is Cross Charlotte Trail, which is currently under construction by the city, running from Brandywine Road to Tavola Road. And the last segment on the right is Briar Creek, running from Cross Charlotte Trail under Park Road to Manning Drive. These 3 critical pieces of our Greenway system will connect thousands of residents through an uninterrupted, mostly off-road experience of trails to places like Uptown, Pineville, Ballantyne, and Noda. In total, these sections of trail, once complete, will connect to over 5 miles of existing trails to the north and 16 miles to the south. We're excited about the opportunity to get this trail on the ground as soon as we can. Our current goal is to complete the design and permitting by this fall. This allows us time not only to complete design, but to also get the project permitted. Should we hit all of our target dates, this project should be out to bid sometime in the new year, with construction starting around spring of 23. We anticipate construction to last about a year. And please note that, of course, these, as always, are target dates and are subject to change. So there's been a lot of activity in this area of town, as I'm sure everybody on the call is fully aware. So I wanted to give just kind of a brief update of a couple of projects that I think are probably most impacting you all right now. The first one is Cross Charlotte Trail. So it's currently in construction from Brandywine Road, which is in the Park Road Shopping Center area, to Tavola Road, where there's already an existing segment of Little Sugar Creek Greenway. This section of trail should wrap up in March of 2023. And like I said, we'll be connecting to existing trail both north and south of it. And we have the project manager, Joe Fry, on the call tonight, should he need to jump in for any additional information or questions. The other project that has been kind of happening in this same space is the Little Hope Creek Wastewater Improvement Project from Charlotte Water. Phase 1, which is the section that goes from kind of the Buckingham Drive area to north to Seneca Place, is currently in the restoration phase, which means that it's wrapping up. And then phase 2, which is just beyond Seneca Place, or at Seneca Place, should be starting any day. And again, Stephen Scott, who's the project manager for this project, is also on the call if we have any questions for him. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our design consultant, Alex McIntyre with Kimley Horn, to let her walk you through kind of the scope of the project and the different aspects of it.
Thanks, Katie. So this overview map shows the entire Briar and Little Hope Creek Greenway projects, starting at Keystone Court on the left, running through Marion Park and the Queen's University Sports Complex, and then connecting to the Cross Charlotte Trail. From there, it runs a little farther down the Cross Charlotte Trail and then picks up again, crosses Briar Creek, then goes under Park Road, where it connects to Manning Drive. The next 3 slides show the project at a smaller scale, so we can dive into the more project specifics. And like Bert said, if there's any questions along the way, please feel free to put them in the chat box or ask them at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. So this graphic shows the portion of the Little Hope Greenway from Keystone Court through the Marion Park. This portion is proposed to be a 12-foot wide asphalt greenway and includes about 150 linear foot boardwalk over a tributary just before the Marion Park. There are also 2 connections shown on this slide. One that connects the main trail to the Tyvola Senior Center, and this connection is proposed to be a 6-foot wide concrete sidewalk. Then the second connection is proposed to be 8 feet wide, and it ties to the existing sidewalk behind the Marion parking lot. So the trail continues behind the Fields and Rec Center, then crosses the parking lot where it runs through the Queen's University Sports Complex. Yep, shown on that next slide. So this graphic shows the portion of the Little Hope Greenway through Queen's University Complex to the Cross Charlotte Trail that's currently under construction. And this portion is also proposed to be a 12-foot wide asphalt greenway and includes a 75 linear foot pedestrian bridge along with 2 connections. One of those connections is up to Buckingham Drive, and the second connection ties to the existing greenway up to Tyvola Road. The Buckingham Drive connection is 8 foot wide, and the Tyvola Road connection is proposed to be 10 feet wide, and they are both proposed to be asphalt. So this slide shows the remainder of the project along Briar Creek. This portion of the greenway continues to the Cross Charlotte Trail and includes a pedestrian bridge across Briar Creek. So the trail will run under Park Road to provide a safe, grade-separated crossing for the greenway users. And from there, the trail will continue up to Manning Drive, ending with an elevated boardwalk along the Briar Creek tributary. And this portion includes 2 connections. The first connection is proposed to be an 8-foot wide asphalt trail up to Cranford Drive. And the second connection proposes to pave the existing dirt path up to Park Road. And this connection will be a 10-foot wide asphalt trail. So the length of the proposed trail for the entire project will be 1.27 miles with 0.23 miles of connections for a total of 1.5 miles of trail. And with that, I'll pass it back to Katie to present the proposed wayfinding.
Thank you, Alex. So I'm sure for those of you who've been on our greenways very much at all, this will look familiar to you. But this is an example of our wayfinding signage package that we use across the entire county. We have pedestrian scale signs at entrances and along the trail to indicate mile markers. At points, we also include kiosk signage to show maps, rules, and other important information. In addition to signs, benches, garbage cans, and mutt mitt stations will also be provided at various points along the trail. So again, just to recap, we are currently in design on this project, and we're about halfway there, I would say. And we hope to wrap that up sometime in the fall, with the idea that we would go out to bid in the winter and start construction sometime in the spring. So before we open it up to this group for questions and answers, I would like to go kind of and touch on some questions that came through the public input site, because obviously we get feedback there, and we want to make sure that the entire group gets the benefit of hearing some of those questions and those answers as well. So the first one that came through is if there was a question to see if we were planning to add any trail off Seneca Place. So currently the closest planned trail to Seneca Place will be the connection off Keystone Court, which is that northwestern kind of uppermost portion of the project. And I have a map on the next page that we can refer to if we need to moving forward. The next question we got was just a general concern about tree cutting. So the alignment is meant to reduce impact to trees as much as possible. But of course, with anything like this, some trees will be removed as part of the project. And then lastly, we got a question concerning trespassing. I guess whoever this was, and I apologize if you're on the call, please speak up because we weren't able to see who this came from. But I guess there was already some trespassing going on this individual's property, and they wanted some visible demarcation showing people where not to go. So once the trail is complete, folks do a much better job of staying on the trail because it's very clear where they are and aren't supposed to be. However, we do have issues when people try to use a trail that's under construction and not open. So we're asking all of you on the call tonight to please pass along to your friends and neighbors that it's really better to stay out of the construction zone and off the trail until it's fully open. And then of course, after it's open, if issues persist, we would ask that you contact Park and Rec, and we'll try to address that issue directly with the individual owners. So at this time, I don't know if Katie wants to read off some questions in the chat, or if we want to go ahead and let folks, we've got 35 folks on, so it might be easier if we raise our hands. Does that sound like a plan?
Katie, there was a request in the chat if you advance to the next slide and see if you can kind of illustrate where that closest connection to Seneca Place is.
Sure. So I don't know if you can see my cursor.
Yes.
Okay, great. So Seneca Place is actually right here. It's just off the map. And Keystone Court is this cul-de-sac that is a dead end, I believe, off of
Wedgwood.
Wedgwood, thank you. So you would have to turn off of Seneca Place proper onto Wedgwood to get into Keystone Court, which is not as far as it sounds, probably, if you're not familiar with that specific street, because Keystone is a pretty short dead end road. Do we have anything else in the chat? It looks like Jenny Jones Smith, I'm sorry, has raised her hand.
Oh, you're fine. I'll answer to either. So I currently live on Cranford Drive, so I have some questions about that section.
Sure.
I heard that you said it's going to be 8 foot wide, but currently it's a private drive, and then we have a curb. Is there going to be the curb, then space, then the 8 foot walkway? Like on the drawing, it's so hard to zoom in enough to know
how close it is.
Yeah, because it looks like it turns right before you get to our visitor parking, like right at it. But I saw flags on trees, and there's a bunch of trees there right now. So I'm like, okay, what part?
Yeah, Alex, can you speak to the spacing between the trail and the road?
Yes, there's a minimum of 4 foot wide space between the back of curb and then the edge of the trail, but it does vary greater than 4 feet.
So right now it's not a flat surface. So we all be going in there and cutting the trees and flattening it out, or it's like more of like a ditch and then it levels a little bit, but
that's right. We'll be adding some fill to flatten it out there because it's a pretty steep drop off on the other side too.
So on your drawing right now, where the construction road is currently, where you go down the hill and then around, like what's going to happen to that construction? I know you're using part of it to go under Park Road, but if you can see on the aerial, normally you turn on a Cranford, then take it, right there. Right now it's all dirt and connects. Is that going to stay dirt? Is that going to be closed? Like, I don't know how people aren't gonna come down our path or cut down the construction road to get onto the other path.
Yeah, and Joe Fry's
We
on
have-
the call tonight, and he can help me out a little bit with this. I believe that is a Charlotte water access that they're utilizing right now. And before Cross Charlotte Trail started construction, there were some gates there.
Yeah, y'all tore our gates down. Yeah. We
So
would like
I
to-
believe those, Joe, if you don't mind stepping in, are those gates going to be reinstalled after construction is complete?
Hey, if you can hear me, hey.
I can, hi.
So I don't know exactly to answer that question, but I can tell you that no one claimed responsibility or ownership of those gates.
It's
It
in
was
our,
a-
it's
it
in our
was-
contract that was written up with the city that there would be gates provided. And you can
So
get
the-
my information off this call, but
Yeah.
I'm not the HOA board president, thank God. But she
Right.
has the paperwork from before, and I think part of it was that y'all could have that and have access as long as the gates were there. But if people are gonna be using it to connect to the Greenway, they'll just walk around the gates. So it's one of those like, because your path will be right where the gates used to be. Like if it really is off curb, then having a gate there, it just may need to be a deeper conversation with us that live on Cranford on like what will look best. The only thing I have an issue with now is that we have people already that park down there and they go up to the corner of Tyvola and beg for money and then they come back to their car. So we just don't want to have people driving down and parking on that road that don't, I almost wish it was going to be more Greenway where y'all paved it and it connected there than having it just be a dirt road because people will just keep driving down there to go back fishing or to park there and go beg for money. Good time.
on Cranford. And so
Yeah,
the
they drive down the
gates-
utility road
yeah.
now.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
gates and the access were for utility Charlotte Water, and I hate to say that's not my department, and they were
Well, the
existing.
gates for y'all have an easement that goes like where it says proposed 8-foot connection, like where that line goes, where they have all the above ground manholes, like all the way through there, because y'all they come and clear cut that whole area quite often, and people try to go hunt for deer back there and everything else. But the gates to the other one, they'd been there forever, like years, and they were never torn down until y'all started building the bridge to get access to the Greenway. And then that's when they got torn down. They were nice metal gates, y'all. They were, I hate to sound so Southern, but they were nice metal gates. They just got bulldozed to the side.
Yeah,
It was awful.
I agree. There were some nice black gates and fencing on that access road that. So I hate to say it, but like that was, I'm not with Charlotte Water, and that
Okay.
was something that existed going way back before my
Okay,
involvement with
so
the Greenway.
Charlotte,
And so I don't know everything about that.
that's okay. I don't
Um,
either.
And so I don't recall what's going to happen. I will say
Okay.
if you got folks coming in and parking in your parking lot or on your road, that's something
Well-
that you might could address with some signs, etc. But
Well, the parking lot part, there's only like 5 spots, and I don't know why you would drive here and park at our place in the future. It's like right where the blue dot is. That's our little parking. I don't know why
Yeah.
you would drive here over driving to Tyvola or parking somewhere else. Like, I'm not concerned. It's more that people use that construction access that's kind of grayed out on your map. It's like
Yeah.
a road. It comes down it.
It comes
And they
down
park-
parallel
yeah,
to
they
Park
come-
Road there.
Yeah, like it turns like an
Right in
elbow. You
here.
come in, yeah, right there. So people
Yeah.
drive back there already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that
Huh.
road stays accessible, you're gonna have people driving back and then parking back there on your land to get onto the Greenway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my guess is once the construction is done with this project and with the Cross Charlotte Trail, we will put
Uh-huh.
some kind of barrier up there. It may not be
Okay.
as nice
Pretty.
and fancy as the gates that we had before, but we'll have something there that's that looks nice,
Yeah.
that keeps vehicles from going down there unless they need to get down there from an access
Sure.
standpoint. Yeah. And we had
But-
initially wanted to use that cleared space for the
Right, I know
access trail.
you changed the map. I was like, when did that happen? I'm the
Yeah.
one that sent Katie a bunch of emails.
Yeah, it was too
Virginia Smith,
steep.
that's me.
It was too
Yeah.
steep and it would we would have to put too much fill in the floodway and the floodplain in order to make that accessible. So we changed the route through there.
Well, I'm just grateful that when you did your cut down Cranford, you didn't take any part of the parking. So thank you for cutting it. I think it just worked out that way, but thank you for not needing to come over to the parking area. The only reason why we're so concerned is that, if people live there, because we already have people that live under that bridge. And if all y'all live in South Park and are like, what are you talking about? I'm just sorry to inform you, but that bridge where it's going to go under, there's a gentleman that lives under there. And then across the way, across Park Road, like that big open Greenway spot where you're going to have all that, there's been people that have lived back there before too. The police are aware of it and they've been called out to try to clear people out, but having the Greenway come through will probably help with that because you'll have more people around and they won't have privacy to live there, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to help with some of that hunting that's probably going on.
Yeah, well, we've just seen people with bow and arrows come through there. And then there's also a pond back there or some low water. We've seen people go fishing before.
Yeah.
You name it. But no gun hunting, thank goodness. But we've seen bow and arrow and fishing and
yeah, we saw a deer stand on our walk through the woods before we started. So very aware.
When y'all go back there on the construction road, when you're done, will all the trash be picked up, including the random mattress that's been there a year and a half or so? Will that get picked up? Is that under y'all's purview?
If it's on county property, we'll make sure to get everything cleaned up as part of our project. I can't speak for Cross Charlotte Trail, but anything related.
Where y'all have the construction access, or I guess Charlotte Water access road that's down there, there's a twin or full-size mattress there, and then quite a bit of trash from the construction crews. So I know that will be an eyesore. Once these are all built, people will see them and tell you to clean it. So I have one more question, and I know there's 35 people, so forgive me, but this proposed pocket park, I saw it somewhere on one of the maps. It looked like it was going to be, that says connection to it. I think it's going to be a little bit further south of that. But what kind of park? Do you mean benches, or do you mean a playground?
We don't
what would
really
be there?
Yeah, we don't really know at this point. So budget is going to be a big driver for what we can do there. And the idea was, as part of Cross Charlotte Trails project, they had to clear that area for laydown for their materials. And so we thought we could kind of play off of that, since it was already cleared, and do something interesting there, whether it's kind of a plaza area with some seating, or a true pocket park with some other park amenities. But at this stage, we're not married to anything, because we have to make sure we have enough money for the main project first.
Will people be able to access the pocket park from the Greenway only, or from the parking that's behind the veterinary clinic too, where all those white cars are lined up? Because if you go across the bridge right there, you can walk across the creek and go up the hill and down and connect all of that right now, which I've done, but it's been a long time. Y'all weren't under construction. I wasn't one of those, I promise. But
so
will they be able to access it from there also, or just from the Greenway?
So just from the Greenway. Because if my memory serves me, we don't have any kind of shared parking agreement with the vet clinic. No. So it would be purely
I think the vet clinic parking lot's its own parking lot. It's the big the other one that you can barely see, that it's part of their parking that y'all been using. The vets is their own thing. They've blocked it off, or you can't even cut through their parking lots. It's just one big U. You can't go into the other big parking lot from the vet parking lot anymore. They blocked it off during them.
Yeah. So again, I think it would be purely from the Greenway, anything that was there.
Okay. Is there any other, so I know my HOA president's going to ask about the gate. So that's Charlotte Water, 4 feet off the curve, then 8 foot asphalt. Then it's going to be quite a while before all this gets done, and we'll worry about it later, and there'll be more meetings about it, I'm assuming. Right.
So this will be our only public meeting.
Oh no, I'm the only one on the call. I hope I don't forget to ask something.
But Jenny, please feel free to reach out to me offline. And if there's something, if we need to do a Teams meeting with a group from the community, we would be more than happy.
in the management company because I'm the only one on the call and I am definitely don't want to be responsible for bringing all the information back. Okay, what was your name again? I'm gonna write it
My
Yeah.
contact information will be at the end of the presentation, and you can get
Okay.
my email and phone number there.
down. Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
And I'll also
Oh,
note
it's
that
also recorded.
we are recording the meeting, and so we'll post the
Thank
link
you.
to YouTube on the public input page, and we'll post the link at the end of this as well.
And
Absolutely.
Katie, I think you're the one that's been emailing back. I emailed before under Virginia Smith because that's how we
Yes.
own it. And you were very, very fast. So thank you. Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
I have all your stuff. Thank
Great.
you for letting me take up all the time. Thank you.
Let's see, there was another part of the question from earlier regarding trespassing, but then there was also a component of the question that was related to dog waste and policing. So as to the dog waste, we will have mutt mitt stations kind of scattered throughout to encourage folks to pick up their dog waste and, and to put it, dispose of it properly. But then, of course, we also have our Greenway operations folks who do regularly get out on the trails and maintain those. So I'm sure, if there's a proliferation of it, then, they'll probably do a little bit of that themselves. And then as far as policing goes, we have our park rangers, but then also CMPD does kind of go up and down these trails on occasion. And then, of course, if you see anything, please call 911 and report it. And Bert, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I think you did a good job of that.
Okay.
We do have another raised hand, Kerwin.
Yes.
Go ahead and unmute.
Hey guys, Ross Kerwin here. Thank you so much for this call. It's been great. Just want to be an advocate for the Wintercrest Manning intersection. Cars are always flying down there, and if we're going to be having folks kind of funnel into the Greenway, especially from the South Park area, I would say heavy crosswalk, speed humps, whatever we can on that road, because it's gonna be a heavy pedestrian area, and there's already challenges with folks running the signs there, the stop signs. So that's one thing. If you guys could comment on that. And secondly, as far as potential pocket parks, that huge green space just north of Manning seems like it would be a better spot to have a park because you already have the Marion Deal Park. And so maybe having something on the east side of Park Road, obviously selfishly we would like it on our side versus the other side, but just a thought. There's a big green space area that could be utilized. And then in addition, the Schofield Wintercrest intersection, again, the wayfinding of getting folks to the Greenway. People will be parking obviously maybe along these streets. There's no crosswalks at Schofield in Wintercrest, and just thinking about pedestrian areas, getting folks to the Greenway is going to be a bit of a challenge. Thank you for your help.
Yeah, I can shed some light on some of the road improvements there. So I believe some of those were identified, and Hillary, who's active in the chat there. Hello, Hillary. I hope you're doing well. Noted that the connection from the Greenway at Manning up to and kind of into South Park was part of the CNET project that the city completed several years ago. And I believe they have plans to kind of extend the wayfinding from the Greenway into South Park along some of the local roads there to help folks get from the Greenway to the loop and then back again. And then with that, I believe they had some improvements at some of the intersections as well, but I can reach out to our counterparts with the city planning department and get some more detail for you. If you want to reach out to me, I can put my contact info in the chat, or you can see it on the last slide here. In terms of activating the grass space that's on the backside of, or I guess north of Manning, east of Park Road, we'll look into that. That was an area that was planted with trees several years ago by our counterparts at Stormwater Services. And so we can go in and ask about, if we'd be able to do any, outdoor fitness stations along the trail or something like that in that area. Or if there, in some cases, there are conservation easements that might limit what we can do in there. But we'll definitely reach out to stormwater and see if there's anything within that space.
Great. And one last question, the connection point basically on Park Road to where that they're doing that little pocket park off of Selwyn. Is there going to be any better improvements of sidewalks along Park Road? Just imagining a lot of pedestrians are going to be using that part even alongside the bridges there. And it's just pretty close to the actual road. Is there going to be any improvements or thoughts there? Or is that possibly a different group or a different funding source?
I second that with the larger thing, because you almost get hit by cars walking down Park Road right now already. So good idea.
Yeah, so that would be CDOT, I believe. I don't think this is a NCDOT maintained road, but this is out of the scope of our project because we do off-road improvements. But the Charlotte Department of Transportation would be your point of contact to see what their long-range plans are, and how soon those might come to fruition in this area.
And Joe, I don't know if you guys are doing any sidewalk work as part of the active Cross Charlotte Trail project.
Not much. The only sidewalk we actually have, which is pretty critical, is right at Selwyn and Park. On the side of Park, on the northbound side of Park Road, there was a major gap in the sidewalk that was really a serious problem, a safety issue. And there was a house there that the city actually bought because it was too close to Park Road. And that's why there wasn't sidewalk. So we actually bought that house and tore it down, and there's going to be maintenance access for Cross Charlotte Trail there. And we're improving the sidewalk, closing that gap, and improving the crosswalks there at Park and Selwyn.
And Joe, while you're on, there was another question in the chat regarding the bridge that's under construction on Little Sugar Creek Greenway. It's one of the low water crossings there. And they're saying it creates a dam when the water rises, and they're asking if it can be raised or not. Well, I'll speak to that, and then Joe can jump in if he'd like to. So that's what we call a low water crossing bridge. The reason it's not up in the air like a lot of our traditional bridges is because we couldn't get it high enough to get it out of the floodplain within this area. And so the other option was to make it go low, and it's designed to go underwater during major flood events. And then as the water goes back down, that bridge is revealed again. It's a bridge that our Greenway maintenance team, who does a great job out of park operations, every time that we have a major event, they'll come down there and make sure that there's nothing blocking the water or trapped up against that. We've got several of those along Little Sugar Creek and some of the other greenways, and they've held up pretty well. Ideally, we'd be higher in the air, but we didn't have a choice in this particular area.
Thanks, Bert. I was muted when I started there. So my apologies, doing this for 2 years and I'm still not a pro at it, right? But you got the correct, and I'll say to that, I understand folks seeing that and thinking, oh, that's blocking water. In fact, we had our designers have to do a very advanced hydraulic model of what we're going to build that models storms and if it will cause any rise in flood waters to get the floodplain permit. And we have a permit from FEMA to put those in. So it may look like it's a blockage, but it actually is a zero impact.
So the next question was about some tree clearing that I think is going on now. We haven't started any site work whatsoever as part of the Greenway. So I'm not sure where exactly that would be within the site, and whether or not it may have been part of the work that Charlotte Water was doing with the sewer trunk line through along Little Hope Creek there.
Yeah, maybe I can provide a little additional clarification. So if you can see my cursor, this is Valley Stream here, and the Charlotte Water Project follows behind those houses, but on park property across the creek in this area before it turns north and goes behind and is kind of sandwiched between two rows of homes facing different streets there. So there was a significant amount of tree clearing that had to be done for that project through the park. And because we chose the route that goes to the west from Keystone Court around the fields here and then through the park, we won't be doing any additional tree clearing in this area at all. And then we will, kind of join this sewer alignment kind of here on the eastern edge of the park, and we'll be in the sewer for the most part, with the exception of some small areas kind of here on the lower end, right as we get to Cross Charlotte Trail. But so the tree clearing, that if this is what you're referencing, the tree clearing from the sewer project, there won't be any additional tree clearing in that area.
Hi, I actually asked the question about the tree clearing.
Okay.
I'm Lisa. I live on Seneca Place. Hi. I'm actually talking about right at the dead end at the sort of circle at Keystone, right into the woods there. There are a bunch of trees that have been cut down, which I believe is right where you're indicating the trail will begin. And we didn't think it was part of Charlotte Water, but.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but we can certainly look into it because we haven't done any site work at all for this project yet. So that's something, Lisa, if you want to put your contact in the chat, I can look into it and I can reach back out to you once I get an answer.
Okay, great. Thank you. We're just curious if that was an indication of how wide the trail, how much the buffer you'd be taking. Just because we can see that from our backyard, we're curious about how much of the buffer will be removed in that area.
Sure. So Alex may can answer a little bit more detail just in general about how much will have to be cleared. Alex, do you know what the width of the clearing in this area will be along the trail?
So the trail in this spot is 12 feet wide, and then we have 5-foot wide shoulders on either side. So that's 22 feet wide. And I believe right behind these houses here, it's pretty much on grade. So the clearing will be right at that 5-foot mark. So 22 feet.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Hey, Katie, I'm sorry. I know I'm jumping in a little late. I was driving. This is Stephen Scott, Charlotte Water. The clearing at Keystone, that was not related to our work.
Thank you for letting us know, Stephen. So I was having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, but Stephen said that for the group that was not related to Charlotte Water's work. So we'll have to investigate that to see who was out there clearing trees.
This is Robert Billings. I'll be the project manager for the Greenway project. When we did our early field walks through this area, we did see a lot of trees that had been cut, but it looked like there was a thinning type of operation. I'm not sure. And then a lot of the trees had been mulched as well coming through there. So the project, whatever is going on right there, it's been done for a while. Like we said, there's nothing, we haven't started any work with the Greenway project yet.
All right, Craig. I think you have your
Hi, yeah, thank you. So big supporter of the Greenway system. Thank you so much for everything you guys are doing. My question, I live on Keystone Court. I was a little curious, and I don't know if it's too early in the process to know this, but what we might be able to or should expect from the standpoint of construction equipment that needs to access, that point through, the end of the cul-de-sac there, and if you had any, guidance on what we should expect.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Alex, if I'm not mistaken, we don't have boardwalk until we get to this, or we have is that boardwalk or a bridge?
That's
crossing?
boardwalk.
Okay,
You're right,
yeah.
yeah.
So there will be some construction that we'll have to access from Keystone Court in order to, I guess, build that boardwalk there. Alex, can you shed a little light on what y'all thought through to date about how construction access will work for this project?
Yeah, it is a little early in the stage that we haven't put together the erosion control plans and done the construction access point, but probably worth thinking to use the Keystone Court cul-de-sac as a construction entrance and then start there and continue down. And our construction access is it's riprap, so big rocks, and it's typically 15 feet wide.
But Craig, to clarify a little bit, we wouldn't do any kind of material storage or equipment storage on Keystone. So it would be passing through essentially to get to county property. Because, we're not allowed to store things in the right of way there.
Okay, great, thank you. And then, I know you guys were asking about the clearing. It was about a year ago. It was this spring last year when all those trees cut down. I remember I'm walking through those woods all the time, so I've never seen it, but just as you're investigating, if that gives you any more insight.
Yeah, thank you for that timeline. That'll help hopefully narrow down who it could possibly be. And I'll have to pull up a better
Yeah, it
map.
looked right along where the proposed path is where it was kind of cleared out and widened at about 10-foot wide path kind of thing, so.
Okay. And yeah, we'll do some internal investigation to see if we can figure out what that was. And, one of the downsides of having such a robust system is that sometimes we don't know everything that's happening everywhere. So, but we'll certainly look into it.
Okay.
All right, we've got another hand raised, RA.
I think that might have been Lisa from earlier.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me, we got some.
Sorry, this is Randy Arthur. I was
Oh, I'm
muted.
sorry.
I
Okay.
apologize.
Yeah,
I apologize.
absolutely.
I was muted. Just quick question on the construction that's going to happen through where the water project has already been done from Valley Stream all the way up to Seneca. They've come in and seeded all that area and everything. What kind of equipment's going to come back through there? Is it pretty unobtrusive to lay down 12 feet worth of asphalt, or is it are we going to go back through another renovation as we put that through that area?
No, typically when we're building a trail like this, we'll have some various tractors, front end loaders, and then when we're putting our stone down, sometimes that the contractor will have dump trucks kind of come through there and drop the stone. Other times it'll be buggied in. And then the final thing that we would do from a paving standpoint, we would have a fairly narrow kind of paving equipment that would come back there to lay down the asphalt. So it will be an active zone for a short amount of time.
Okay. Will there be any significant landscaping and stuff that happens through that area, or is it pretty much just going to stay this wide open area that it is now? Or
yeah, I think probably what's cleared now is the width of the easement for the sanitary sewer. And so we've been very careful to keep our trail in that area within that easement, so we don't have to clear anymore. But unless we had significant temporary construction easement in that area, which we do replant, most of it will remain somewhat open. But we're kind of taking advantage of that and reducing impact beyond that by staying within that easement area.
Okay, I think there was a pretty significant temporary easement that was taken for that project. So
Yeah, we can go back and check, and we work with either our contractors replant, or we work with groups like Trees Charlotte to go back and replant areas that have temporary impacts.
okay, and then just a quick question about the mountain bike trail, hiking trail that's been back in this area. Is that going to basically be reconstructed, or do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so I think right now they've kind of been severed because of the Charlotte Water project that's going on out there. But the Tar Heel Trailblazers is the group that constructed those and maintains those and uses those for the most part. And so they will come in and reconnect the existing paths where they can, but they also may have to reconfigure some of the routes depending on where the new manholes are, or what have you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. I think there was another question in the chat. I don't.
Yeah,
think...
we got a number of questions in the chat.
Oh, do we? Great.
Yeah, you want me to run through some of them?
If you don't mind, because I can't see them.
Yep, for sure. So there was a question about the possibility of continuing the path along Briar Creek to connect up to the trail behind Myers Park High School. That connection is part of our master plan, but we don't have property ownership or easements to be able to make that connection at this time. So it's not something that would be part of this project, but it is part of our overall master plan. And I would say the way that we're evaluating future segments to fund and to build are linking the gaps that we have kind of in our system. So I would say that would be one that we'd be looking at doing in the near future. We had some comments or questions maybe about mutt mitts. So kind of part of what we do with our wayfinding is also furnishings, benches, trash receptacles, mutt mitt dispensers, and our Greenway operations team and our park rangers go and check those areas and empty those trash cans on a regular basis, and then refill those pet waste dispensers as well. Let's see. Where does the bridge across Little Hope Creek behind Marion Deal, where is that located? So if we could go maybe to that. Next slide. There you go. Yep. So it's directly adjacent to where some of the activity for the sanitary sewer project was, down the hill from the field house and in the athletic field for Queens there. We had a couple of questions about the timeline of the project. And we'll, Katie, if you want to go through that real quick.
Sure. So we're in design currently. We're about halfway through that process, and we expect to wrap it up in the fall. We hope to have all of our permitting done so that we can bid the project out in the winter. And then construction, we anticipate to start in the spring of 23. So provided that we don't, hit any major hiccups along the way, then you should see us out there starting early next year.
And then we had another question about whether or not we may be able to make a connection along the sanitary sewer corridor up to Seneca Place. Andy, it's not going to be part of this project because we're not budgeted for that. Also, Charlotte water easements don't include the use of greenways within the easement language. And so we would have to go through and work with each individual property owner to get the ability to go in and make that connection. So I won't say it won't ever happen, but it won't happen as part of this project. I did get a direct chat question. Let me move up to it and see it real quick. The question was, are we planning on building any additional parking or restrooms or anything of that nature as part of this project? And the answer is no. I guess one of the great things about the route that we've selected here is we're able to utilize the parking within the park here, as well as the restrooms at Marion Recreation Center and the Senior Center. So we don't plan to go in and build any of those in any areas as part of this project. Let's see, we got a question, one last question in the chat there. Is the connection of Little Sugar Creek Greenway from Park Road to Tyvola scheduled to be completed sooner? Joe, I don't know if you addressed earlier in the presentation what your timeline is currently on the Brandywine to Tyvola project. There we go.
Yeah, Katie spoke to it. So I can only speak of the entire project from Brandywine to Tyvola. And I'm going to say our official completion date is March 2023. And maybe there'll be some Christmas surprises on when it actually gets done. And that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Joe. All right, I think I've gone through all of the questions in the chat there. There was another comment about the that green space on the east side of Park Road, that a lot of the saplings didn't make it, that were planted back there several years ago. So we'll go back and check and make sure that there's no restrictions from a conservation easement standpoint, and see if there's the possibility of going in and activating some of that space.
Yeah. Well, is there anybody else on the call who would like to speak up before we wrap things up?
This is Scott. I just wanted to say I enjoyed this. It was good.
Good. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Scott.
We appreciate it.
Are they going to replant those trees in the corridor along the stream that they took out for the sewer project?
So unfortunately, for the main easement for the sewer, you can't plant trees on top of sewer, you know, because it creates all sorts of issues long term. But to Bert's earlier point, in areas where they have really wide temporary construction easement, which is the easement that will revert back to the county after their project is done, we can go into those areas and replant some. So what we can do as we kind of get into this a little bit more is we can talk about, you know, what a planting plan might look like in that area. But unfortunately, we can't plant all of it.
This is Jenks Ravenel. Excuse me. I have one other question. Somebody said that you guys were not going to have another one of these meetings. This thing's been very helpful, and I would really like to know why not. As we get further along, especially as things come up, can we not have these kind of things on a regular basis?
So typically, you know, on these projects, we reach out to the public and have a formal meeting once, but our public input page, which the web address is up for on this slide, is the place that we use kind of as a clearinghouse to provide updates or additional information, any changes that may have occurred. And so we really like to use that as a platform to stay connected throughout the duration of the project. You know, I don't want to say that we wouldn't hold another meeting should the need persist, but we don't typically find, once we're in, you know, kind of in the throes of construction, that we don't typically hold those types of meetings.
Yeah, I'll add to that, Katie. The times that we have had follow-up meetings is if we have major changes in the alignment of a project, which in this case I don't anticipate, because we've got ownership or easement for everything that we're doing here, or if the timeline changes dramatically. What I would say is, if you're part of a HOA or a community group or something like that, and you'd like an update and kind of see where we are, feel free to reach out and we'd be happy to join you at the meeting and provide a brief update on the project.
Well, we thank everybody for coming out or sitting in tonight. I'm still used to saying that even 2 years later. Here's my information. Feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions. You can also continue to put questions and comments into the public input page if you find that more convenient. And like I said, that is our go-to for providing updates and information to the community. So please share that with your friends and neighbors as well. And we look forward to getting started. I know that, you know, this area has experienced a lot of change over the last few years, but hopefully things will be completed and it'll settle back down for y'all in the near future.
Yeah, I put my email address in the chat box as well. And as we mentioned earlier, we'll post a link most likely tomorrow that'll take you to YouTube, so you can go back and share that link for any friends, neighbors, family members that weren't able to join the meeting tonight. So with that, thank you so much for participating, and we look forward to seeing you out on a Greenway trail soon. Have a good evening.